Welcome to the Easy Speak Speakeasy.
You've unlocked the door to unfiltered mental health and wellness conversations. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Easy Speak Speakeasy.
Yeah. It's your girls, the OGKG Christy and the beautiful Miss.
Hi.
Miss
Diana.
Hi.
Miss Hi. Miss Diana. We are here today with an awesome episode for you. We have a special guest today. His name is Paul Doughty. He is a dedicated public speaker and survivor. He hails from Scituate, Massachusetts. His life's journey has been marked by formidable challenges that have profoundly shaped his character and outlook. From a young age, he wrestled with circumstances that steered him down a path of despair. However, with unwavering determination and an intrinsic belief in the power of resilience, we love that word here at the Easy Speak, resilience.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yes, he has turned his tale of adversity into one of triumph. His story is a testament to the unfaltering human spirit when met with hardship. He's also a speaker and author, and his true story of growing up in an abusive home and then being left unsupervised through his teenage years is now being developed into a TV series. Can't wait to ask him about that. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. The metamorphosis Paul underwent is not solely his own doing. It was through the empathetic guidance of a mentor, the transformative process of therapy, which led to a profound spiritual awakening, and strength culled from various passions that he reauthored his life's perspective. As he shares his life experiences with audiences, his aim is to catalyze a similar awakening within them, to inspire and demonstrate that with support, inner resolve, and courage, anyone can overcome their trials and emerge stronger. I love it.
Fill me up, Buttercup.
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. Paul's message is resilience, my ultimate superpower, embodies his mission to empower individuals to embrace their own strength and create a legacy of success and positivity. So I am so excited to talk to Paul today. He has got gems to drop, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And his whole message is just totally in line with how we at the Easy Speak view mental health and the journey of wellness. And yeah, so without further ado, let's bring Paul on and say, hey.
Let's bring in this superhero.
I know. Here he comes.
I mean, that is just such an amazing bio, and listening to everything that you just read is amazing. Welcome, Paul. Diana was just reading your bio, and we're already inspired, and you haven't even said a word.
How about that? Well, thank you for the great introduction, I guess. Great to have or be on the podcast, Diana and Christy. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share. Perhaps I'll have the opportunity to help others that may be going through something similar that I have gone through.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much. We absolutely love resilience is my superpower. We actually also use the word superpower quite often. Like on our website, we list our own superpowers. And so, yes, in our last podcast that we taped, we were also talking about how important it is to find your inner superpower and let that thing bring you through like the hard times in life. And so
yes,
you coming on our next podcast is like perfect timing, because it's just like a segue into somebody who has really embraced this. So this is wonderful.
Very good. I'm glad that the topic fits right into the schedule.
It does. Serendipitously, actually.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Paul, for our listeners, I just read your bio, and you
Yes.
alluded to a lot of adversity and challenges. But do you mind giving our listeners just kind of a bit of a rundown of your life story? The highlights, the key important parts, the things that helped you to build your resilience.
Well, I think you mentioned we have 45 minutes, so
Yeah.
life story.
Cliff notes.
I
Cliff
could go on
notes.
forever. Yes, of course. Well, I grew up in a suburb of Pittsburgh, and I lived with my parents and my two older sisters. They were 2 and 6 years older than me at the time, and you would think, looking from the outside, we were the perfect family. My father was ingrained in the community as a football coach. My mother was a choreographer and a dance teacher, and my sisters were both baton twirlers who traveled competitively. And I was just a 5, 6 year old kid, but looking from the outside, it looked like from the perfect family, but it was far from it. From the age of 4 through 11, I witnessed domestic violence, things that a child should not see. But and I can tell a couple of those stories. And the story that is most impactful happened when I was 4 years old. And that one incident impacted me my whole life. And I didn't realize it. I didn't know that witnessing domestic violence impacted me as much as it did. So a couple of the stories, I'll tell this story, but there was the one story that impacted me, like I said, that impacted me my whole life. But there's another story that is maybe not so gruesome and maybe a little more funny. So it was Christmas time, and we were all having dinner. That was spaghetti dinner. I am Italian. And we were all, my parents and my sisters, we were at the table sitting, and we must have been, and it was Christmas time, and we had just purchased a tree. And we must have been asking, when are we going to put up the tree? When are we going to put up the tree? When are we going to put up the tree, Dad? And I guess my father had enough. He stands up, he flips the table upside down. The spaghetti goes everywhere. He goes and gets the tree. He drags it through the spaghetti and puts it in the stand. Merry Christmas, right? Needless to say, our dinner had a hint of pine that evening. But it was those incidents that impacted me my whole life. So from the age of 4 to 11, again, I witnessed that domestic violence. And at the age of 11, I had to make a decision. I was asked who I wanted to live with. And quite honestly, that wasn't such a hard decision, especially since I knew my sisters were going with my mother. But I also had to decide how I was going to continue. And because of after my parents divorced at the age of 11, from the age of 11 through 18, I was on my own. We were on our own. We had a roof over our heads, but that was about it. My father wasn't around, and my mother was living with a priest, quite honestly. So, from the age of 11 to 18, I was on my own. And so you would have thought things would have gotten better after that, but they didn't. We had a roof over our heads, as I mentioned, but that was about it. We had heat some months we didn't have electricity. We huddled around the stove to get warm at times, I remember. So those times, that's where some of my resilience, the seeds of my resilience were laid back then. And even before that, with my grandmother, who as well, just going through or living with her or near with her, she resembled a lot of resilience. But so when I had to make that decision at 11 years old, I was playing football at the time. And so that saved my life, quite honestly. That was my community. That was my family. That's where I felt safe. It's where I could express myself without words. And, in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I actually walked to practice 1 mile each way for 3 years. And I often asked myself, why? Why did I do that? It would have been so easy to quit. Nobody would have said anything. Heck, nobody would have even noticed. But again, it was where I felt safe. It was my family. And it kept me alive by being a part of that community, because being a part of that community allowed me to develop character and valuable life skills that helped me later on in life. So, then that takes me to 18 years. I graduated high school. In high school, I liked my physics class. So heck, I'll major in physics. What the heck? My sister went to California University of Pennsylvania, a education school. I'll go there too. No thought, no consultation, no what do you want to be when you grow up. So I was just going through the motions, and like living life in a fog, I say. Just whatever's next. So I went to college and, partied my brains out, graduated with a GPA much less than a normal student would have. And, again, I majored in physics. And after college, I started to play rugby, and that was fun. It was a lot of meeting a lot of friends and making a lot of lasting relationships. And then I got married at the age of 27 and had 2 children with my first wife. And, this is when I was heavy into drugs and alcohol. So, at the age of 27, again, I got married, had 2 children, and, I was going through the motions. I was partying, I was out late, I wasn't doing the right things. So, I needed to do something. I was heavy into drugs and heavy into alcohol. I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't treating people correctly. And I finally took action. It was time, and there will always be a time when you feel, or perhaps there'll be a time when you feel that maybe I need to do something here. So what occurred was I started seeing a therapist, and this was at 35 years old. So I went through life from the age of 5 to 35, going through the motions. And, again, hurting a lot of people on the way and so forth. But at the age of 35, I took action. And when I started counseling, I went, and it was apparent to the counselor that I didn't remember anything. So the counselor wrote a letter to my mother and and said, you better write Paul a letter and give him some context, because he doesn't know what the heck happened. So my mother wrote me a letter, provided me some context of when things happened and so forth. So, going, going through some therapy, getting some information, things, started to get a little clearer. My mother also had given me a book 2 years earlier that sat on the shelf, and I didn't do anything with it, called 101 Ways to Transform Your Life by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And, that book really changed my life, or helped in changing my life. So that book, along with the counseling and getting some information, things started to happen. As I mentioned, at 27, or I left my wife and kids. I was, 30 some years old. Left my wife and kids. I was in the IT industry for 30 years, and I was assigned to a project in Cleveland. So I go to the project in Cleveland, and it was right next to a church. Now, I never used to go to church. I never did, but I went over to church at lunch hour a few times, to the power hour, it was, as we called it. And I went to church, and I ended up writing the priest a letter, kind of giving him some information that I'm going through all this change, things are happening, I just left my kids. And I ended up meeting with the priest, and the result of that meeting, he said, just pray. Just pray. What is it that you want from me right now, oh Lord? Okay, so a couple months later, I'm sitting at a bar, drowning my sorrows. It's a busy bar. There's people everywhere. There's a DJ playing behind me, and I'm sitting there drinking, and I look at a bottle of vodka behind the bar, and I said, "What is it that you want from me right now, oh Lord?" And as I said that, the DJ said, "Yes, that is God." I didn't need to turn around and look. I didn't need to. I knew he was talking to me. And then another time I was in this busy public area by the beach. And it was very busy, and I was looking for a place to pray. Again, I didn't always look for a place to pray, but this particular day I said, I'm going to look for a place to pray. So I said, well, it's busy here. I'll drive along this coastal road and see if I can find a place to pray. So I'm driving my car, and I come around this corner, and I see this big opening. So I pull my car down, and I come walking up. And I come walking up to this area, and there's this circular formation in the ground. And it was outlined with rocks. And it was a labyrinth. Labyrinths have been used for thousands of years as a spiritual tool for meditation and reflection. And a labyrinth has one way in and one way out. So I started walking through this labyrinth. And I get to the center of the labyrinth, and there's this little pile of rocks. And sticking out of this pile of rocks is a crucifix of Jesus. And this overlooks a lighthouse. And this lighthouse flashes 143. 143 for I love you. Somebody was trying to tell me something. So then on September 12th, 1998, I quit drinking. And it's been over 26 years now since I've had a drink. So that the idea of taking action, getting help, is hard as it is to take that first step out of our comfort zone, and getting that action and taking that action and seeing that counselor, that saved my life. And and it snowballed from there. Not that everything got hunky-dory and everything was perfect, far from it. But, it took me over that hump and made me realize that it shifted my thoughts from that I can create my reality with my thoughts, and, that I'm more than what I just see, and letting go of my ego and all this, that what society tells me what I should be and what I shouldn't be, and practicing forgiveness and compassion. And it really did open up my heart and my mind to what I was feeling, which was love, and love for myself, and love for others, and love for the world around me. It was truly transformational. So that takes me to about that time frame, 35. If you would like me to go on, or would you care for me to take a break?
It's such an incredible story. I'm sitting over here taking notes. I think a couple of the things you said really resonate with a lot of the ways that we, talk about resilience and getting through the tough times. But one thing that stood out to me was when you said that, your thoughts create your reality. This is a concept that we talk about often in different ways, in the mental health space here at the Speakeasy. We've talked about this a lot, just how, the ways that we think about things really do shape how we feel and the decisions that we make as a result. I see the connection there between your shift in mindset and your openness to the changes that you were hoping to see in your life. I think that's really amazing. There's this openness to, I know it's not a word, but betterness that is kind of, that resonates throughout your story, right? That at each inflection moment, or at each time where you kind of made a decision to do something or to do something else, you were open to receiving a message or open to making the changes that would be necessary for you to get to the next place. And I think, sometimes it can be really challenging, because a lot of what you're talking about is transformation and change. And just
Yes.
as Christy mentioned before, that can be really tough for a lot of people. A lot of people end up staying kind of going through the motions because the fear of change holds them back from going through it, right?
Yes.
And so, I guess that's a question that I have for you, is that how did you overcome that? Like, I feel like sometimes it's an inherent human emotion to fear change, because because of the unknown, right? The great unknown that's on the other side of that
Yeah.
change. What do you feel like helped you to be able to go through these different changes that ended up being so transformational for you?
It's a great question, because I was keeping everything in and keeping everything out and just trying to protect myself, right? I was protecting myself from the pain and hiding it with all the drugs and alcohol. But it's taking that first step out of your comfort zone. It's the hardest thing to do, and I think that what helped me and was that. Again, I majored in physics, so I have that the left brain or right side of the brain, probably the opposite of Christine and you guys. Yeah, I kind of when I started to read the 101 Ways to Transform Your Life and another book of Power versus Force. When I started to read these books, I think it gave me the incentive to understand that there, again, is more. There's more to what I'm doing, to how I'm acting, to what I'm feeling. So I think it was a combination of just being at the wit's end, because I should have been dead many times from what we were doing. So it was a combination of just all of that was going on. And just hurting people, and then having kind of the mindset that there is much more, that you don't have to live in this pain all your life, and just I had it did, you had mentioned it, it was quick for me to kind of turn that switch to say, yeah, there is something much greater than myself out there. So I think it was a combination of those two things that kind of made me step out of my comfort zone and take that first step.
Awesome. Amazing.
Something that I think is so interesting that you've highlighted is that you, along this journey, have used therapy and faith. And I think that we often talk to people who struggle with that for a number of different reasons. Oftentimes we talk to people who are very religious and feel like they must get all their answers from the God that they recognize, right? And that seeing a therapist is outside of what their belief is. And then we have other people who feel like the therapy is the way to go, and there's no like sky god, right? Like these are the kinds of things that we like hear from people, right? And so something that we kind of always talk about is that you can use whatever things that you have accessible to you, and it's okay to try different things on for size, and that a lot of times you end up finding that like happy medium somewhere in the process. And I'm just wondering, in your journey, it seems like that's how it unfolded for you. Did you have roots kind of along the way in your journey where you had some exposure to religion, some exposure to therapy? It sounds like you didn't have many services, unfortunately, but maybe different people were kind of coming in and out of your life, and so these things might have been presented to you.
Yes. Yeah. The spiritual side of it, the Christianity, the spiritual side of it was always a part of the family
Mm.
in some respect.
Mm.
My mother was, she was always talking about peace and giving and helping others and things of that nature. So that was helped. So that was part. There was always some type of flavor of Christianity, and coming from a Catholic Italian family as well. So there was always that out there. And what was the other half? I'm sorry.
The
The
sort of therapeutic, more
yeah.
clinical type approach.
Yeah, and it's funny how it happens. Things come in and out of your life at different times for certain reasons. And the therapist that I actually started to see was a friend of my mother's.
Mm.
So I think, again, that helped, right? I didn't have to. I mean, this was, 1980 something, right? I mean, it's not like today where you can get mental health help, on your phone. So I think, that kind of helped as well. Just, that helped as well. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love hearing stories of people who have both of these things as part of their lives or part of their journey along the way. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I'd love for you to continue on. I think we left off, the year was 1998.
I love it. So it was 1998. So this was 35 years old. So again, I just left my wife, ended up getting a divorce. I was traveling as part of my IT job, and I met my second wife. I thought she was the be all, I thought she was it. And she had three kids. I had 3 children of my own, or 2 children of my own. And so she moved, she lived in the Boston area. And so she moved to Pittsburgh. So I built a house, and we had all 5 kids in the house. Blending a family is probably the hardest thing that one can do.
Yep.
That is not easy. It surely took some therapy bringing the family together. But yeah, I built a house. We had 5 kids in the house. We ended up having another child, Sam, who just graduated college. So my second wife hated Pittsburgh. She grew up in Boston on the ocean, and we were in the Midwest. So close to the Midwest. So we moved. She wanted to move back home, and we moved back home. So, I was married for 23 years, and it was good at first. It was good at first. And then, so again, I was married, had the 6 kids. We were living here in Boston. I was coaching football. I coached youth football for 10 years. All the boys were playing football at the time as well. And things started to go south in the marriage. I was traveling 4 days a week. I wasn't home during the week. And I found out that my wife was having an affair of 12 years. So I forgave her. Don't ask me why.
Because you weren't walking in the land of forgiveness.
Wasn't I? Yeah. No, I know why. I stayed for my youngest son was one of the main reasons. I always thought I want one of the kids to live with both parents.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't work out. So Yeah, so she had an affair. She was being emotionally abusive. I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a say. I felt caged again. And I have said that it's, I want to slap myself because why didn't, and maybe you guys know, why didn't I realize this sooner? That I was going through this emotional abuse again. Again, I stayed. There was many reasons why I stayed, but it took a while for me to actually realize what the hell was going on. That it's happening again.
Mm-hmm.
It's different, obviously, but it's happening again. So at the same time that all of this was going on, I was diagnosed with Lyme disease and babesia. If you're aware, Lyme disease is, it's from a tick, a deer tick, and it affects cognitive. It affects your muscles, your joints. I lost 50% of my hearing. So I had Lyme disease for 4 years before I knew it. So by the time that I started taking antibiotics, I was a mess.
Yeah.
And so then I started antibiotics for 4 years, taking 3 different ones at one time and just up and down, up and down. And at this point, I was totally depressed, right? My wife was cheating on me. I'm being emotionally abused because Lyme disease in itself leaves you depressed.
Yeah.
Because you feel really alone. And I was suicidal at this point. So I had to decide and take action again, keeping in mind that I was very spiritual. I shouldn't say very. Spirituality comes in and out at times, doesn't it? I mean, when I'm going through this mess, you tend to back away from it a little bit when you need it most. So I always had this spiritual flavor. So I resorted back to that. I started praying, and I did 2 things. I started praying, and I prayed, my intention. It's my intention that Dr. Jesus and I will cure myself of this disease. And as I said that, I would take a breath in and feel it all the way through my feet, all the way up to my head. And at the end, I would say, would heal myself of this disease and blow it out. Because I was on these antibiotics for 4 years. I said, no more. I'm done with the antibiotics. I started more diet and taking CBD and doing and these types of things. As well, another thing that saved my life was I found, again, just happened to find TMS therapy, transcranial magnetic stimulation. Happened to be that my sister's son, Zach, went to school with a boy whose mother owned a place in Florida, the Healing House in Orlando, that did TMS therapy that specialized with Lyme disease. Again, it's amazing how that happened. So I actually did TMS therapy. They map your brain. They look at different spots. You guys may know this, and they tap on your head. This place in Florida tapped on my head in 3 different places. Most places, I think, do 1 place, but they did, because I'd met with a psychiatrist beforehand, and he, I guess, figures out how crazy you may be. And, so they map your head and they look for certain spots. They put your hand in a certain position and they hit that magnet on your head. And when your hand jumps like this, that's when they know they're at the spot. So I went and took TMS therapy for 30 days in Orlando. My sister lives there, so I stayed there. And I went into that place crying. I was crying. I was actually crying. I was so depressed. And I walked out a new man. It saved my life. Again, I was praying and a TMS therapy. And that one was something. That one saved my life. That one saved my another time. But yeah, TMS therapy. I didn't know anything about it, and I was surprised by the effects that it. It may not affect everybody or as it did for me, but it saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4. Yeah.
Amazing.
That is.
Yeah. It's amazing how these things, if you're receptive, right? Again, before I was keeping everything out in and out and just trying to survive. If I would have stayed in that mindset and self-isolated as I was doing, these things wouldn't have happened. They all occurred, all of these things, because I took action and I wasn't resistant from them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk out into the beautiful air in Florida, a new man, is this when you sort of shifted into starting to share your story and talk more and formulate into where you are today?
Almost. It was, the resilience hasn't been tested fully just yet.
Oh.
You got to learn more, right? We grow time we get over these things, right?
That's right. Diana and I were just talking about this in our last podcast. It's like sometimes the challenges that seem like they're the hardest in the long run are the ones that actually have the greatest amount of positive impact when you get through them.
Yeah, most definitely. I say to myself, I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe some couple things, but yeah, I mean,
maybe a couple people here and there.
Yeah, yeah, one in particular. But sorry, but yeah, you would think again that now that again, I came out of this a second time. I'm alive again. Well, again, I at this point I was trying to get a divorce. It took me, my ex-wife, my second ex-wife, X2, as I say. She wouldn't leave. I tried everything. Took 4 years. I slept on the couch for 4 years. She would not leave. She wouldn't hear anything. She wouldn't accept anything. We lived in a 1,400 square feet house for 4 years without saying a word to each other, other than, something not so nice. So, and my son Sam was living with us at this time, right? So, one summer at college, he didn't even come home. He said, "Hell with that. I don't want to live with that."
Mm-hmm.
So, she took me 4 years, and she tormented me for 3 to 4 years. Stole stuff, ripped out plants in my garden 3 different times. It was just amazing. She tried to do anything. She got in my face after an argument and said, I was down at the beach. I live on the beach. She came down and said, right in my face, said, "Is there something you wanted to say to me?" She just wanted me to do something. But I ended up.
Did you say, yes, you're standing in my sunlight?
I wish I would have been that quick, Christy. Oh, that's funny. But yes, it took me, and how I got her out of the house. And this is when I seen the light, right? This is when I was able to move forward. So we had just gone to the courthouse. We were to see the judge, but we met beforehand and worked things out, as you do before you go into the judge. So, we worked everything out that day, and it was and part of the agreement was that we would be together and go through all the items in the house and take turns. Who wants this and who wants that? Okay. So I was out somewhere and I come home. And she's packing up a bunch of things. And I said, "What are you doing, you frickin' kleptomaniac?" That didn't go over very well, but So nothing. She didn't say anything. She just had continued packing all of her things or our things away. So then I knew there was a picture of Sam playing football over on the shelf. So I went over and grabbed it, and I started walking away, and she attacked me. She pushed me from behind and hit my back. She pushed me again. She tried to get the picture out of my hand. I fell over the couch. So I'm leaning over the couch trying to take a picture with my phone and holding this picture. And I finally just dropped the picture and called 911. And they came and asked her to leave. That's great because I wouldn't have been able to get her out of the house until I refinanced. It was part of the agreement. So it would have been another 2-3 months that I would have had to live like that. But she was gone. And then I was at a place where I could do what I wanted to do. And that's when I started when I started my speaking business, pdspeaks.com, where I'm talking to teenagers about self-discovery and resilience, and I'm creating a TV series to communicate my story to try to help others. So it was not until I was set free, if you will, that I was able to start to do what I've wanted to do. I always wanted to do the public speaking and to be able to help children that may have experienced what I experienced. I've always wanted to do that, but I couldn't do that when I was in that relationship that was so volatile. So not until I got out of that did it allow me to get to this place where I am today.
That's wonderful. Wow. So can you tell us what you talk with teens about, and how are they, these teens these days? Are they receptive to what you're talking about and engaging with you?
Yeah, for the most part. But could you imagine being a teenager at this age, at this time? Mm-hmm. It's completely different from it. Obviously, I'm a little older than you, but I couldn't imagine being a teenager in this environment with the digital landscape that you're dealing with this cyberbullying and all that's going on. So, I talked to them about speaking up because I never asked for help. We did. After about 7 years, we called the cops, and they didn't do anything because back then they thought domestic violence was a private matter. They said it'll resolve itself. Talk to the teenagers about 3 things. One about speaking up, because it was something that we never did, and asking for help. The second thing that I talked to the teenagers about is getting involved. Being involved in sports saved my life, and being involved develops character and valuable life skills that can help you later in life. And the third thing that I talk to the teenagers about is embracing self-discovery, taking that first step out of our comfort zone. And when you do those 3 things, you're taking action, which then builds resilience. And, some of us, the definition that we hear of the most is about, resilience is about bouncing back after some traumatic event. But as we talked about earlier, I think it's more about growing when you have to overcome those challenges and adversities. That's when you grow. You find the gold where you stumble and fall. So that's where you grow. And one of the things that I use when I talk to the teenagers that may follow, the reason I'm thinking of this is I'm speaking in Pittsburgh next week. And one of the things that I mention is, if you're familiar with football, Mike Tomlin is the football coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he was talking this preseason about how he throws those rookies in there into the fire against those all pros. Why? Because he's challenging them. That's how they grow. That's how they get better. It's the same thing in life. It's no different. So yeah, that's what I talk to the teenagers about, and I'm the place I'm speaking with in Pittsburgh is actually my alma mater, so
No
it's going to be an
fun.
exciting talk, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish the
Yes.
Patriots would have taken some Mike Tomlin advice with Drake May in the beginning. They waited too long
Yeah.
to put him in. It's my opinion.
Wow. Yeah, I guess you're a fan. You're right.
It's like, why do we wait so long?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. You follow. I can tell. Yes.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's awesome. I'm also curious about this TV series. Where are you at, and when are we going to be able to watch it and binge watch it, as they say?
Yeah, I wish it were sooner, but
Yeah.
we created the treatment, I think it's called, and that kind of gives the concept of the story, and it's going to be. Did you ever? I don't know. The Butterfly Effect was a movie that
Mhm.
it's based on your decisions.
Yes.
So it's going to be a true story about me and my life and growing up, and it's going to be based kind of on that butterfly effect theory, where
Mm.
your decisions, your
Yeah.
outcomes are based on your decisions. So we actually are kicking off the second section. I have a new producer who was assigned, and she is quite amazing. She has some great credentials. So we're
Awesome.
just getting started, and they say it takes about 6 months to write the script, and
Hmm.
then obviously we will then be marketing to Netflix and the others.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
So
So exciting. I can't wait to watch.
yes, me too.
That's so cool. And I love the
Yeah,
concept. I really love that movie, The Butterfly Effect. And it's interesting as you were talking today, I was just thinking like, each decision you made, it was a turning point, and you went in another direction and another direction. And so I'm
that's
excited to
right.
see that play out on the screen.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Awesome.
right. Well, I really want to thank you both for giving me the opportunity to share. And
Yes.
again, perhaps the opportunity to help someone else. That is my intent.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
sure any and everyone who listens to this will be helped in some way, inspired. And we thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to move on to the next section
Oh
of
yes, the
yeah, we've
questions.
got our rapid fire questions for you. And
Oh,
some of them you might have answered a little bit, so feel free to give us the shortened version. But
okay.
you know, all right, so I'll kick it off for us. The first question is: we live in such a fast-paced world where small moments of joy and gratitude can often be overlooked. And we call those small moments of joy and gratitude glimmers. So, what are some of your glimmers? What are some of the small things that bring you joy throughout your days as you're going about life?
It helping others. I love to help others. I live in a neighborhood. Again, it's a coastal community, and there's our neighbors are 3 feet away. So I'm always helping, and here again after storms, the place looks like a hurricane hit it, and so I'm always helping other people. So I get joy by helping others, and seeing others in their joy.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question is, what advice would you give or something that you would say to somebody who is struggling with their mental health right now?
Yeah, when we talked earlier, and you said about faith, and when I come across people, I like to help people, like I said, and I like to help those that may be struggling with alcohol. And it's those darn it, I lost my train of thought because I wrote something down.
That's okay.
What was the question again, Christy?
What
I'll
would you
start
say?
over.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who is struggling with their mental health right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Like we talked about earlier about faith. And, I talk to people about, I help others about drinking and alcohol. And I bring up faith and it's hard to, you can't communicate to somebody that is not open about faith. I mean, they're not going to grasp it. They're not going to understand what may come from having the faith and having that spirituality. So, it's not easy to be able to fall back on on your your spirituality to help somebody with their mental health problems. So, I resort back to, as I did many times, and is taking that step out of our comfort zone. But be able to do that, you have to start discovering yourself and being open and being, again, receptive to these things. If you're always blocking things out and you're set in your ways, you're going to stay in your ways. So you have to be open. And when you're open, things will flow and things will come to you as they did for me. And that's how I got help, is because I was receptive and things came to me.
Thank you. That's great
Awesome.
advice.
Yes.
Great advice. And this, again, kind of built into what we've talked about already today. But, here at the Easy Speak, we fully recognize and we often say that the mental health stigma is alive and well, unfortunately. And so, it's very real. How do you encourage open conversations about mental health? It can be a challenge to talk about it sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, because you said that, 65%, only 35% of teenagers ask for help when they're struggling. 65% of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
And they just continue to struggle. And I think there's many reasons for that. But I think the main one is, it is about stigma. It is about what others will think of me, that, Paul has a problem. He's a little crazy. But, I think we get a lot of pressure from and how we're going to be perceived by others when we're going to ask for help. But, I try to communicate that everybody is struggling. Everybody has a problem, some big and some small, but, every family has dysfunction in some way. So, it's again, an understanding that everyone has a problem, that and it's okay to, as they say, it's okay to be not okay. So I think it's gotten a lot better than it has over the course of the past 4 or 5 years with the stigma of mental health. So I think it's getting better. But again, I think it's a lot of the peer pressure that teenagers specifically are under that keep them from seeking help.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 more questions.
Oh, 2 more. All right.
What is your best pro tip on maintaining a work-life balance?
The best tip on maintaining a work-life balance. It's a good one. Not one that I was expecting. Well, this, I think this kind of concept just recently came out, or I just remember reading about it. And that is, taking a break step away every half hour for 5 or 10 minutes, take a walk, do this, do that. So I think that helps with the work-life balance. But it's a tough question, especially in this day and age where, I was in IT, as I said, and when COVID hit, when we had to go remote, you would think that you wouldn't work as much. But we worked from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. straight through because there were no breaks, right? You didn't need a break. So there were no lunch hours. So that was a difficult time. And, I was running a big project at that time. And we tried to have happy hours because we were remote. So we would have, just as you kind of do sometimes, you have a little toddy with the meeting. When it was after 5 o'clock, we would have to get together, and we would have a drink together, and we would share stories about different things. So I think there's the work-life balance is it's difficult because of this day and age and all that's going on, and we're always connected. So it's about taking that break. It's about stepping back every half hour. They say take a 5 minute, 10 minute break. And when you do that, it's amazing. You come back and you sit down and you kind of have a little clearer head for a period of time. So that's what I came up with.
Great
Awesome.
advice. I love it. That's why we asked the question, because we need to pull all of these answers together for everyone, because I think we're all struggling in that area sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right. Last, but definitely not least, and probably my favorite question, because I feel like I'm making my own sidebar list based off of what folks' responses have been. But what are some of your favorite self-care strategies?
Self-care strategies.
Yeah. I mean, well, you live on the beach, so we know that.
Yeah. Yeah. The sound, I just read something about that even the sound of the ocean, just the sound of the ocean is really good for you, I never knew that.
Absolutely.
So, self-care, meditation, as giving yourself a minute, just as when we give somebody, we give them, what's it called? A moment of silence. Give yourself a moment of silence every day and just stop. Because again, we're running from the time we wake up until the time we go to bed. So it's important that when you wake up, don't grab your phone. That's one thing that I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah.
Just wake up, smile, enjoy it, and be thankful for another day. Because every day is a good day, as someone said. Have you missed one? so it's meditation, it's and prayer. I am a spiritual being. We are a spiritual being having a human experience, not a human have a spiritual experience. So I pray. I pray, and as I pray, what is it that you want from me? I still use that same thing, and and one of the things that as well for self-care, and this has helped over the course of the past year and a half with me, is to be thankful, and to be thankful for what you have.
Yeah.
And what you are striving to have, act as though you already have it. That's what happened to me with what I'm doing here. I was this speaking engagement that I just closed today. I've been trying to do that for 6-8 months. Just being persistent. But again, just pray. And believe, that's another thing. There's a difference between believing and a knowing, right? I knew that this was my story. I didn't know it was going to take me 60 some years to get there, but I knew that this was where I was going to end up. I just, again, didn't know it was going to take so long.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
Well, Paul, thank you so much. It's been so, so wonderful and enlightening having this conversation with you tonight. I'm so happy you reached out and we were able to make this work. I know that this episode is going to bring so much joy and hope to others. So thanks for coming on to the Easy Speak Speakeasy.
Well, thank you again for having me, and I look for the opportunity, perhaps meet you. I know that you're not too far away, so
Yeah,
perhaps our paths will cross.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Hopefully, very soon.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be open to that.
And we
Yeah.
will make sure to include all of the information about your business, your website, all the things that you have going on in our show notes so people can easily connect with you, and hopefully some schools and other places that are working with youth hear this amazing story and work that you're doing and reach out to you to bring you in to talk to the kids that they're working with.
Very good. Well, that is the intent, again, is to help. So, again, thank you both for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great
Yes,
rest of your night. We'll talk soon.
you as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, bye.
That was awesome.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So
Paul's
many gems dropping. Boop, boop,
all over the
boop. I
place.
was catching.
I was catching too. I'm over here taking notes. I'm like, I just love the manifestation coding in everything
Hmm.
he says. Like
Hmm.
he is a master manifester,
Hmm.
and he's used so many and harnessed so many different vehicles and energies to make his life what he wants it to be, despite all of the adversity. And there's a lesson in his life story for everyone. So I really
Hmm.
am looking out for that Netflix series. I hope y'all pick it up.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Let's go, Netflix or Prime or whoever is smart enough
I
to pick
know,
up this story.
literally.
We need more stories like this
Yeah, we definitely do. We
where in the
definitely.
end people end up where they want to be because they kept going.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. If you have any thoughts on today's episode, if you want to share your own stories of resilience, if you just want to commiserate with Paul and his story, please, please, please reach out to us at www.speakpipe.com/easy speak on air. We want to hear from you, and you can stay anonymous or you could tell us who you are. And I'm sure our other listeners would be very interested to hear what you have to say as well. So don't be a stranger. No stranger danger here. Let us know what you're thinking.
Hmm.
And don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review, and tell a friend to tell a friend. And stay tuned for our meditation minute coming in.
Yes. Get just like Paul said, get that meditation in. Here's your opportunity.
Yeah. Look
Will
at
you make
that.
the choice?
Look at that. What choice will you make today?
Well, will you look at that?
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.